Oh, man. So strap in, folks. We're in for a long one today. Now, the whole premise of this video was to, like, just try out certain things here and there. But, like, for this first one, it just kind of felt like it was the least amount of risk possible. So we're going into a Senya, Destina, and a Ravi, Red Ravi comp. Now, I honestly think, like in the back of my head, this is probably just more of like a pet project team, which, hey, mad props. I actually highly respect people who do stuff like that. But, like, there are some very, very clear weaknesses in this team. For starters, like, Red Ravi is just nowhere near, like, an actual, like, super threat. And also, we're utilizing, like, the oh-so-wonderful fun buffs that LRK got. So I went into this expecting to be like AoE crazed, and I wasn't expecting to get the first attack with LRK, so like it works even better in my favor. So like right here, I'm assuming we're like what, 1 or 2 turns out until we have bike again. But also just straight up, we're going into a lot of AoE, so then we have a lot of opportunities for Elbrus Ritual Sword to proc on Illynav. And good lord, dude, these buffs that Illynav got, like if you're not fighting some form of like blue counter, blue unit, blue thick thing, blue anything of that nature that can just go in and pretty much one-tapper, Illynav will absolutely clean house and destroy about anything that you fight. So that was an error on my part right there wherever I went for the Ravi. I just miscalculated and thought, I was like, oh, maybe she'll get enough rage to like AoE me again, when all I really had to do was just attack the Senya once and then I would have had bike again. I mean, that's just a clear example of me being stupid. You know, hey, what else is new? But like, hey, right here we got bike again. So like, we have LRK here as the insurance, just in case, like, we just straight up never crit the Senya. But, like, here's the cool thing about Illynav. If you, like, never proc Punish until you actually get to Punish, you will still decimate teams with her. Because she, like, the buffs that they did to Illynav are actually beautiful. I think they might have overbuffed Punish a little bit, because whenever you soul burn it, it does absurd damage. Like, that actually might be a mistake. But just, she has a kit where if they're injured and then she uses Punish on anything that is injured, they just take extra damage afterwards. It feels so good. It feels like you're not wasting your time with an injury set on her. It feels great. Now let's go on ahead and juxtapose that with Mort. Holy fucking shit, this match is terrible. Okay, so we're fighting Archdemon Shadow, Belian, and Apocalypse Ravi. So I wanted to go into this just to try out, like, I know my set isn't actually, like, the best on Mort, but I'm trying out an injury set just to see if it would actually be worth a shit. And, because he kind of checks one of my checkboxes that I use whenever I use an injury, says, like, hey, he actually does some form of injury, and he has, like, counter shenanigans to him. Now, one thing I did forget is that he doesn't have Elbrus in his kit. He has counter in his kit, so he has to be hit. So that's like the big issue that I immediately like mistakenly forgot about. And then I also brought MLKen just for funsies because like I never bring him. And I was going to utilize Mort because Mort isn't really like an injury and like damage focused character, which is like the most fucked up thing about Mort if you really think about his character. He's like this super proud fucking dragon who's OP as shit in the lore. But if all actuality, if you look at his kit, he's a unit that desperately needs help from his team. Like, so what's the one big thing that he can do? When he S3s, he can basically do like a 50-50 chance to Death Break, or if you soul burn it, that's a 100% chance, and that's only whenever you have Enrage, which is another thing that is just fucking baffling, because I can't think for the life of me anytime Enrage has ever been good. Like, all of the characters I think who even get Enrage, it's just not good at all, and it doesn't really help them in the slightest. Now, perhaps if we get a character in the future that's like Conqueror Lilius, and then they give Enrage, like Conqueror Lilius does with Vigor, maybe I will change my tune a little bit on Enrage. But like as it is right now, oh hell no, Enrage fucking sucks. So basically, I'm skipping a whole bunch of this match. In fact, I'm going to talk about some other stuff while we're doing it, because I basically get stalemated for a good fucking, like, 8 minutes while I'm doing this. And keep in mind, also, by the way, Mort's passive does not proc until 4 minutes into this fucking fight. Like, seriously. this, like, I'll go ahead and I'll talk more about Mort and why I think he's just a giant piece of shit character. Because, like, so here we have a good opportunity to do his S3. And this is where I'm expecting some big injury damage. But ultimately, we don't really get it, because we're going into a lot of damage mitigation, like especially like Archdemon Shadow. And also, I'm not rocking anywhere near as much damage as my Illynav on my Mort. They are very similar in their stats. It's just Illynav has a little bit more crit damage. That's about it. Mort's like a little bit tankier. But ultimately, they're kind of similar. But Illynav just blows him out of the water in the damage department because of the buffs that she got, where, hey, if she injures something, she's just going to be doing guaranteed more damage throughout the fight. And that's why, like, Illynav just feels so much better than Mort. Mort feels like this really, really shitty lottery-based character that also has to be tanking. Because if he's not tanking, then he's just straight up not going to fucking do anything. So, like, I still don't think my passive has procced at all, because I put Ancient Dragon's Legacy on him, you know, his own artifact, just to see if it would fucking do anything. It really doesn't for the longest time. And when I do eventually get it off and then I have crit damage buff, it's still, I'm still not impressed by what I see. So ultimately, it feels like Mort needs to have, like, Elbrus or something like that, just so you can fish for, like, a death break or something. But, like, this is what's so pathetic, is this character... Oh, hey, looky there. There's the first S2. Wow, that took... Like I said, it took 4 fucking minutes. 4 minutes for that to happen. Yay, I love math. But either way, like, this whole fight just sucks. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get Archdemon Shadow down, because she's honestly, like, kind of the biggest threat right now, even though, like, Apocalypse Ravi can really, really fuck me up too. So, like, if you were to say just do this with Illynav instead, like, we would have already been done by now, because look at all that injury. She would just essentially be killing with Punish. Like, it would be over. But no, Mort just has piddly, pathetic, terrible damage, which is just so terrible for his character. But you know what? I'm actually done talking about this fight. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to kill Archdemon Shadow, and then we're going to very, very slowly whittle down Apocalypse Ravi until we eventually get the right amount of death breaks, the right amount of hits onto her, and then we can eventually kill her. So hey, thank God for Doris. She was the true MVP in this fight. Mort didn't do shit. But either way, so one other thing I did want to talk about, I actually kind of want to talk about Benimaru, because he came out yesterday on Wednesday. Well, Wednesday at like 3 in the morning or whatever. But yeah, I managed to get a hold of him today, and I tried him out into his specific, like, you know, the counter picks that you're supposed to use him in. So here's the thing. He works, but like Valky said in his own video, he only works if you let him work. So basically, he only can function in an AI format or a PvP arena format, Guild War format, stuff like that, where you're going into the things that he hard counters because they are going to do the things that he counters. Now, if you do this in, like, say, RTA, for example, Benimaru is pretty fucked, and he probably does need a buff, and the only way you can kind of counterplay that to actually use him in, say, like, RTA or something is just to turn him into a speed monster, because then that way he is at least going to get his turn, but it's just, you're not going to be satisfied with it. So, if you use him as intended for, say, arena, Guild War kind of fights, you'll be kind of happy with it. Like, but at the same time, like, mine's kind of decent, but I'm kind of disappointed in him. I still need to finalize the gear. It's okay. It's not perfect. I'm not, like, the biggest fan of it. I need to get a new neck or something, and then maybe I'll be happy with it. Because, like, mine's not even super fast. You guys know my gear. I don't run speed gear. But yeah, like, Benimaru is absolutely, he's a blast to play, and if you can manage to get yourself some, like, super primo gear, you will have a shitload of fun with him. I guarantee it. Now, like, in RTA, probably not. You're probably still better off just, like, banning Lua, banning Conqueror Lilies, banning all the actual, like, super cancer that does the extra turn shenanigans. So if they wanted to do anything with Benimaru, what they should probably do is they just need to give him another proc chance instead of just extra turn, because extra turn's really not that common. Or they need to take away the cooldown entirely from multi-layered barrier. I don't know, but he does need something. But either way, hey, enough of that horrible, terrible Mort match. Let's move on. So for the next fight, basically what we're fighting is Diene, Senya, and who is that? Apocalypse Ravy, I'm assuming. Yes, it is. So I decided to bring in Illynav again, just to kind of like showcase the massive difference between her and Mort, because that's what's like it's so stupid. Mort was he was an injury pioneer as well. He came into the game with injury, and then like straight up, Illynav is the super best injury unit right now. So I also brought Basar, just because I wanted a guaranteed strip. And hey, cool, looky there, he's already dead. We're 4 turns in, he got countered on, and he's dead. Yay! But either way, and like I said, I got Doris here. She's just going to tank all the hits from Ravy, and basically, we're just going to rely on Elbrus procs and just Illynav being based in general to go ahead and get us through this. So we were thankfully able to get rid of the crit resist like immediately. So all we have to do is we'll do a little bit of injury on Apocalypse Ravy, and then that way she's doing next to nothing to our Doris. And now we're just going to start fishing for Elbrus procs. Because, like, you see that, she's not even critting against Senya because we're not rolling the crit. But we're still able to do phenomenal damage to her. Because, like, look at all the injury that's already spread out all through. Like, Senya's already dead. Like, absolutely incredible. So now all we have to do is really we can just kill Apocalypse Ravy. But, like, right here, Diene gets her turn. So now we have to start going through crit resist again. And I think we're also going to have to go through barrier, because I think her turns, yeah, it's right there. Because she pushes up on the CR bar super, super fast. So, like, here, even still, I'm not too worried. So, like, I don't really want to get countered right now, and I don't want to get any injury on Illynav. So I'm just going to still rely on the Elbrus counter procs. And the other cool thing, like I said, the cool thing about Illynav, because the Apocalypse Ravy already has some injury on her, like, okay, yeah, sure, I didn't crit, but I've already killed her barrier with the extra damage due to all the injury that's on her. It's absolutely incredible. Illynav is easily probably the most fun unit in the game to use now, with if you just are in a mood to injure something. Now, if I wanted to, I did not need to bring Basar. I very well could have easily just brought I could have just brought Alencia. I think the reason why I brought Basar was because I was kind of expecting the Senya to go fast, and she did. So, and I have an immunity set that's on my Basar, so I just kind of went with that. So that was all just generally a part of my plan, because anytime you're going into Senya with Alencia, if you don't have some form of cleanse, you don't have some form of like anything to just get through all the debuffs that you're going to get provoke locked, and if you're ever provoke locked against Senya, you're just in for a fucking terrible time. Like, that's just kind of how it is. And like, I brought Doris just to tank the Apocalypse Ravy, and she only has one cleanse, which is the S3, and I just didn't really want to waste it at that time. So, like, hey, that was my reasoning for the team that I picked. And what you saw right there was just some clever CR manipulation just to kill the Ravy without having to even use the S3. So now we're going into some Dream Team story mode shenanigans. Hey, what if Zahhak didn't get killed like an absolute bitch in the story? I'm still mad at that. That shit should have never happened. So yeah, now we're fighting Zio, Belian, and Savior Adin. So what I'm going to do is, I was just thinking this out real quick. I brought Zahhak, and I'm going to see if I can just like boost him up, and I'm going to see what I can do. So first of all, we brought him in so that he could kill the Savior Adin. I don't want to have to deal with that shit. And Roana is only there in case I'm dealing with like a bunch of counter shenanigans from Belian. Because anytime you have Roana and you're dealing with Belian, like, it's kind of free, especially if she's like not on injury. I don't think I learn if this one's on injury or not. I think I kill her before I even can really know. But yeah, like, she also didn't even provoke me. So like, hey, lucky me. But yeah, I'm just going to go into the Belian and like one more hit from her and then she's going to die. Now, thankfully, the Zio didn't kill my Ahmed, but like, it's also looking a little bit sketch right now. But hey, the good news is we have enough defense from the barrier that we're going to give with Roana on my side that Zio is still not going to kill me. And also because of Celestine that I have on Ahmed as well. So like, hey, he can do a lot of damage, but he ain't going to kill me. Came really, really close. But either way, now it's Zahhak's turn right as soon as I do this, which I don't even need to do. I can really just do the S2 and that's all I need. And hey, looky here. What if Zahhak didn't get utterly deleted like a bitch in the story? Well, things would have probably turned out very, very different. Who knows? Yeah, I know, Ahmed. The silly fighting is over. Now, this is where I was attempting to try out my my green Armin with my Shadow Knight Pyllis and my Roana. However, I didn't really get a good test out of this because, quite frankly, I was not expecting this Savior Adin to be this slow. So, like, this isn't really a good test, because you'll see the damage whenever we get around to it. So I try to balance things out as much as I possibly can. I think I eventually go for a hit on her, and then that gives her attack buff, so she goes into my Shadow Knight Pyllis. But she also has death buff at this point. She's been hit 3 times. So it's like, I can't really give you an accurate depiction of like how effective this really would have been. But ultimately, yeah, she still wouldn't have done crazy, crazy ass damage to my Shadow Knight Pyllis. Because like, I was going to do this with like a Runka, but I was a little afraid because, one, I'd be going into a single hit from Savior Adin, then I would also be getting a hit from KARINA, and then there was also a Mercedes on that team as well. And this is like, if you don't know any of the speeds, I really actually thought my Shadow Knight Pyllis would die. But like with this right here, like the damage that you take from from Savior Adin is just so small because Armin is there, and with Armin just being on the team, she just straight up like lowers the damage that you take by 20% if it's a single attack on any other unit. She doesn't give that to herself, of course, but like anyone else on the team, if they take a single target attack, they just take reduced damage. It's super, super awesome because like, yeah, I'm assuming that this Adin has to be really strong because they're super, super slow. Like, they just have to be. I can't think of any other, like, thing for it. But, like, either way, it works out really well. But, hey, I got my first S3 out, and then, hey, here's the second one. So, Savior Adin's dead. And now all we have to deal with is Mercedes and ae-KARINA. And, like, them by themselves, especially ae-KARINA, because she's a single target attacker, it's just not going to do any kind of damage to Shadow Knight Pyllis. I have fairly decent ER on my Shadow Knight Pyllis. Unless she was running a bunch of effectiveness, she's not going to death break me. And, I mean, I'm always going to have death buff up at almost all times. So as soon as I deal with her, then we're good to go. In fact, I am so confident in my team right here. In the next little bit, I think it's in the next turn or so, I actually I hit auto, and I just let this thing play out. So I think it's on the Roana's turn right here that I decide, like, yeah, because like this is a very, very, very thick KARINA. So I just decide, okay, so we're just gonna go auto, tap her, and then we'll just let this thing play out. Because yeah, they're straight up not gonna kill me. Like nothing's gonna go wrong. So I guess like while we're waiting on this, I haven't had a chance to actually try out old Tehran yet. I don't know what the community's going to be calling them. Is like what, Twisted like Eidolon Kairon or whatever. And I don't know, I'll just call him Tehran for now. And I'm not sure how to feel about him. He's probably going to be really, really good, especially for my own playstyle, because he looks like a slow and thick character. It's just, good lord, the fucking stats that you're going to need, because he's got no defense, and he's like got high HP, so he's basically like a Violet in terms of stats, but like, you need to make him like even slower. You need to have a lot of effect resist, because like, Violet's a dodger, so you don't really worry about effect resist, but like, you know, with Tehran, he's going to be taking them hits. So, yeah, you need to have a shitload of effect resist just so you can keep your counterattack buff for as long as possible. And then there's just like the actual effects of his kit, which is all about patience. So, like, you have to wait for the enemy to take at least 10 turns, and those 10 turns they need to have buffs on them at all times, because that's how you get your enrage buff, or as Valky likes to put it, the big mad buff. And it's just like, yeah, it's kind of shitty whenever you think about it like that, but like, if you can build yourself one hell of a bulky Kairon, I think it could really work out for you, especially like because of your other 3 units that you have with you. You can either build like a bunch of security to, say, protect the president, or you can have like a whole bunch of like other AoE attackers or something like that, and then he cleans up. Because I don't know if I'm going to build mine with crit and crit damage yet. I almost feel like you should just have him be that unit that just kind of stays on the field, because whenever he eventually gets his enrage buff to go in, you would have an additional 10k damage. So I don't actually know his multipliers and how much damage he actually does right now, so I don't know if the crit and crit damage is actually worth it at the moment. But yeah, he's going to be stat hungry. Very, very stat hungry, and I'm not looking forward to building it. But either way, so we have one final match. So this is Unbound Knight Arowell, Sylvan Sage Vivian, and Spirit Eye Celine. So ultimately, I decided, well, you know what? I never really get the opportunity to use Death Dealer Ray, so let's give it a shot. Yep, the doctor is in. So the goal here that we're doing is we're going to utilize any and all chances that we can to just CC the ever-loving fuck shit out of the Spirit Eye Celine. Because my Death Dealer Ray is not thick. He's not thick, he's not fast, he doesn't have a lot of ER, he's quite mid. He's not good at all. So we're basically relying on Pestilence buff that he gives and Solitaria of the Snow to do basically everything. Because I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but Solitaria of the Snow is a pretty fucking toxic unit. Like a very toxic unit. And I just brought Destina just in case Death Dealer Ray dies, and for any and all cleansing that I might need. Because I'm going into an Unbound Knight Arowell, I know a stun's going to happen at some point. I just knew it was going to happen, and it did. So now what I'm going for is like, okay, so let's just sleep her. Okay, cool. I like resistance. Resistance is cool. So I'm thinking, okay, so she's probably going to get at least one S3 off, but if I can still get to my Solitaria and just keep her stunned until I can get her killed, I still don't have anything to worry about, which that's pretty much what happens. Because, yeah, she's the only thing that will actually completely kill me. Because the other cool thing that Solitaria also does is Sylvan Sage Vivian has no focus. She has no focus for the entire fight. So we never have to deal with any cooldown reduction mechanics happening with Sylvan Sage. And I don't think we ever see her S3 again. So she doesn't have the opportunity to utilize any of her ramp-up mechanics for her S3, which is, honest to God, I think probably the worst thing about Sylvan Sage is she just doesn't get her S3 fast enough to justify making it an attack that is like a ramp-up mechanic where it gets stronger the more you use it. Whereas, Death Dealer Ray, honest to God, feels more like a ramp-up character without actually having ramp-up mechanics due to, how his focus works. Because as soon as you get through your first cycle and you've done your S3 once, it just kind of feels like you are just cycling through really, really, really fast. Even though you're not. You're not at all. It's just you've done a lot of damage and horrible shit just with all the injury that you're spreading. But just because of that, it feels like you've actually accomplished a lot. And thankfully, to the buffs that he got, where he just basically all that happens now is he just moves down the CR bar a little bit faster, which is another really cool thing about having Destina here as well, because that's even more CR push. So if you can manage to push Death Dealer Ray really, really fast and really, really safe, you can do some mad cool shit with him. He's tons of fun. If anything, the biggest thing that he reminds me of, Death Dealer Ray, to any of you who have ever played Ion, reminds me of a Spirit Master from that game. Because basically what their whole shtick was, oh cool, I'm just going to inflict debuffs on you until you die. I'm just going to watch you suffer. Because that's basically what that class did. But hey, with that, that's the match. And with that as well, that is also the Guild War. So, hey, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling. I am very, very, very tired. But I really do appreciate, everybody who does still stick around and just hangs out and likes the stuff that I do. It really does mean a lot to me. Yeah, sometimes, I get a lot of interaction, and sometimes I don't. But I think a lot of that's kind of my fault as well, because I have a really, really hard time finding the time to actually push these things out. Because I usually start working on a lot of this stuff, super late at night, and I try my best to get them done as quickly as possible, and then usually, I'm waiting, and then I'm trying to find a picture, and then, before you know it, it's 10 minutes till midnight or whatever, and I try to like to give you guys at least like something for the day, so it doesn't feel like I'm throwing out 2 in the same day or whatever. But like, yeah, that's kind of like my process through a lot of this. And I think it's also just like it's been a pretty rough week, and I probably do need a break, but it's not like out of like being burnt out from Epic 7. It's more like life shit in general. But hey, I do still greatly appreciate any and everybody who comes around. And I know like one person recently like asked like, hey, why don't you like do things like make beginner or like guide kind of content? And like I'll just straight up be like kind of honest with you. I don't think I would produce good guide kind of material. I just don't think I'm like really smart and think outside of the box really well for the sake of like creating a guide for beginners or anything like that. Because like I think like if you just look at my account's like welled out to shit. I don't think I can even remotely relate to like new content anymore. Like I'm just being honest. But hey, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. It does wonders for my mental health. And if you want to, go ahead and subscribe if you want to find more of my stuff. Have a good one. Later.